Deep in an old cemetery, where oblivion had long shrouded the graves, lay a skeleton. Its remains rested in the comforting darkness of the grave, but within its bones surged an inexplicable desire. This skeleton had once been a man, and his soul had not abandoned him even after death. Each evening, as the night's shadows enveloped the land, his bones would come to life and yearn for a return to human form. The skeleton, named Edgar, had been dreaming his final dream for many years. Night after night, he transformed into a living man, his bones covered with flesh, and he became part of the world he had lost. But what truly awakened a new passion within him was a chance encounter with a woman named Lillian. Lillian was a charming lady from a nearby town who visited the cemetery to bring flowers to her late mother's grave. She was full of life, and every time she approached, Edgar felt his heart begin to beat again. It was a strange and tender feeling he couldn't understand, but it was irresistible point one day. When Lillian stayed at the cemetery a little longer than usual, Edgar could not resist and approached her. He spoke to her with trembling, his voice soft and full of longing. Lillian, strangely enough, was not frightened. In her eyes, there was something that allowed her to see in Edgar not just a skeleton but a living being full of emotions. Each night, Edgar eagerly awaited the moment he could once again transform into a man and meet with Lillian. He told her stories of his life, shared his thoughts and feelings. Lillian, in turn, grew more and more attached to him, and his nightly visits became a bright spot in her dark days. However, dawn always shattered their moments of happiness. As soon as the first rays of sunlight touched the earth, Edgar would become a skeleton once more. His flesh would disappear, and he would return to the grave, where he was bound to eternal silence. Point one day, Lillian noticed that her feelings for Edgar were growing stronger, and she decided to find out what happened to him each night. She stayed at the cemetery until dawn and saw Edgar turn back into a skeleton. At that moment, she understood the depth of his suffering and love. Lillian resolved that she could not remain on the sidelines. During the day, she studied ancient books and curses, hoping to find a way to break the spell that held Edgar captive. With each passing day, her determination grew, and she finally discovered a way to restore Edgar to life permanently. That night, as Lillian completed the ritual, Edgar appeared before her once more. But this time, he was not only a man but free from the chains of time. Their love, which had survived the night and dawn, became eternal. They could live together, no longer fearing the morning sun, and never return to the grave where it all began. Thus, the skeleton and the woman, who had found each other through the walls of graves and the darkness of the night, found their happiness that lasted through eternity.